A lot of traders will tell you that they prefer to trade the open. I prefer to trade the close and looking at intraday positions. Here's how to get better at it. When I'm looking through my stocks at the end of the day, usually anywhere from 3:30 till 3:45, about 30 to 15 minutes before the market close, I'm going to do a quick rundown of my watch list and just see where things are shaping up and notify on the right-hand side here which stocks are in play for tomorrow and maybe an overnight trade. So I'm going to start with the NASDAQ, look at the tech sector. We're kind of topping out there, so that may be a one to stay away from. Let's look at the SPY right now. A little bit better. We just broke above the 50-day moving average. That's a pretty good sign right there. And then just quickly go through to the VIX and see where that's at. It's getting pretty low, getting down around below that 20 range. It's kind of into neutral or average kind of VIX territory. And then I'll just go through my companies. I just go through one at a time and just take a look at the charts. And if something catches my eye, what I like to see is a little bit of extra volume and a nice chart setup technically. I'll make a little star here. I'll go boom and make it green for going up, red for maybe a negative play or a short. I'll just go through my list. No, Apple, nothing. Airbnb to me, that could be interesting in a little bit. Looks like we're kind of catching some support here at this area. That may be a one to put in play. We'll go with the green. AMD, looks like we had a nice run up here. Maybe we paused. We've caught this kind of bottom area here. Maybe that's one for tomorrow as well. I'm going to put that one on the list as well. Disney, not a big fan of that setup. Etsy, no. Google, if this 50-day moving average or 200-day moving average drops past that, it's kind of rejecting it right now, but it's getting up there. If it was to drop past that, that would be one to look at going downwards too, but waiting for a sign there. I might put an alert on that later. Meta, kind of topping out. Microsoft topping out as well. Nice strong candle there on Nike, which is bouncing off of the kind of trend line that we have going down here. So that's one to maybe look at as well. Put that as green. Palantir, no. PayPal, no. C Limited is in a nice uptrend right now. It's also at the top end of its trend. Maybe a little bit more room to move up higher. We're going to leave that one alone. Tesla's been acting kind of strange recently, a little bit up and down, a little bit of chop inside this range. And right now, not a lot of volume, not loving the setup. So we're going to leave that one alone. Walmart, no, top end. And that's it for now. Accenture, this is another one I look at sometimes, but that one's hitting the 200-day moving average. That one is one that I would expect to potentially keep ripping through there, or if it's going to do that, reject off there. So now we have 1, 2, 3 different ones to look at. So now as the close of the day becomes closer, I like to switch these charts and look at them one more time. Airbnb, AMD, hone in on one. Hone in on one. What's this one going to do? Not a lot of volume here, so we're probably going to take this one off. Okay, you need volume for a sustained movement to happen. Volume's been declining here as well. But we did have a good earnings report, and now we're kind of settling back into this area. Nike again. I think Nike's going to be the winner here just because it has a pretty good spike in the bar that I see there. And it's got some areas where it's bounced off of support before. So if you wanted to go in and then make your trade, let's do it on Nike. You want to switch to the 5-minute or the 15-minute chart. And you want to see what's going on as we get closer to the close. And you can see we've kind of broken up and made our high for the day here. And we've got some good volume picking up as we end up the day. So if this continues to the end of the day and these continue to be green bars moving higher, you can see that's going in red right now. But as they continue to be higher, they continue to go green, that usually sets up a nice precedent for the morning, assuming no other news hits the market or the stock, and that this day finishes strong to the green, to the upside. It really picks up at the end of the last couple of minutes. So you have to kind of wait to the very end and get in right before the close if you want to set up an overnight play. If you're doing options trading, this is super important to understand, because if you're doing options and you're going bullish in options, if you go to Nike, I'll explain this to you guys. We go into Nike, we go into the options chain. And let's say we're picking a call. We want to pick a call option and we want to go bullish. So we're going to be on the call side and we're doing an overnight play. The thing is that when you're buying calls and you're going bullish with options, theta works against you, okay? Every day that this option price doesn't move, the stock price doesn't move, this gets decayed. You also want to make sure you have a tight bid and ask spread in here. So you may want to go out a little bit further in time, maybe a third Friday of the month to increase the open interest, and then follow areas where there's a very tight bid ask spread. These are at 10 cents. It's not great. You can finally find normally, you can find better ones than 10 cents, but this is all you got. This is all you got sometimes. So maybe this is an area you want to get to 370, 365 in there. But again, it's going to lose value over time. So you want to make sure that you get the direction right or as close to right as possible. And overnight, that there's going to be a move to the upside. To go back to our chart here, things are still looking kind of green. We don't have a crazy amount of volume going on right now, but that's okay. We'll still wait it out and see what happens. If you go back to AMD, we see the opposite's going to happen. Things are kind of falling off. So this to me would mean like there's not going to be a huge move up tomorrow for this company unless this starts to flip around and move up higher. You really want to wait till the end of the day and lock in and see what happens. And also, it doesn't hurt to go back and just refresh where the day's high and low was. You can see here we're kind of settling into this area right where this candlestick goes as well. So there's movement to go up or down tomorrow. There's not really a decision being made here. It's kind of a doji candle. So you're looking upwards, looking downwards. It's an indecision candle. Tomorrow's candle is going to really make or break where this goes next, I think. So AMD's off the list. So it's just down to Nike. And again, I like this candle. I like it bouncing off of this trend line and moving higher. And I think that it can go up to 121 there and then move higher up into the 122 range. So if you think that's the case, again, we go back to our 5-minute chart. We open it up, zoom it up. We have a good spike of volume here coming now. It's generating, people are getting into this. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more time here, let it build and see where we end up with. In terms of where I think we could top out, again, you look at the daily chart, I've got a line in there at 121. Yesterday's open was right down here at 121.02. So maybe there's a 50-cent move in there. If you want to buy shares outright, you could do that as well. And you eliminate the need of using options. If you're an Interactive Brokers, you would just click on the stock and you would just go ahead and buy shares, maybe 100 shares at the minute price. And if you go in the next day, you can go ahead and just hopefully make some money when you buy it back or sell it back. You can attach a profit taker if you want to and do that just to lock in your profit taking and your stop loss to protect your downside a little bit if you want to do that. Again, I'm looking for a nice strong movement to finish the day. And let's go into a 5-minute chart here. Lots and lots of volume, nice big spike. This is almost the biggest spike of the day. We've got one here around 2 o'clock and then in the morning when there's a lot of action. So what is this setting up for? What is this telling us? What is this trying to do? Just going to give it a little bit more time here. And I'm thinking that this is going to be bullish, but we have to make sure these candles confirm it. You never want to make a trade based on what you think can happen. You want to wait for the data to get there. Otherwise, you're operating in a place of hope instead of a place of analytical ability and reading the chart. Like right now, I could say that I think this is going to be a positive sign tomorrow, but if this doesn't keep on moving higher or at least stay flat, if it keeps dropping back down, that's going to be my signal that, hey, wait a second, the overwhelming kind of end of day feeling was that this is negative. So I go back and say, no, maybe this is going to pull back a little bit. And this, instead of going back higher, it's going to move back down towards some of these other closes in here. Where there's a nice big spike of volume right there. Maybe that's down around 119.50 because there's a volume spike as well. Maybe that's more in line with what's going to happen. So things to think about when you're doing this. But a lot of money is made both at the open where there's frantic action and trade set up for the next day at the close. Right now, not loving the way this is shaping up. We've got one more minute here in this bar. And if this is going to kind of stay where it's at, I think this is going to go back negative. So we've got the negative bar there. It hasn't totally fallen out, but I'm not loving the kind of setup here. And you just wait and you just sit there and you wait till the end of the day. And now we're moving a little bit lower again. So this one maybe isn't a trade you want to take. You want to make sure that you're reading the signs of the chart and not operating again in a place of hope or what you want to have happen. Take the signals, try to limit your emotions and understand what kind of setup you were looking for. If you're looking for this end of day setup, you want strong volume. You want lots of movement to the upside technically, and you want to be making a higher high to close out the day. You don't want to be kind of tapping these same areas once or twice over again. You want to be busting through with a lot of momentum, setting yourself up for a nice move tomorrow. Tomorrow's move, again, we could be going up to this 121 area. We could be moving downwards towards 118.5. It just depends on how this day finishes and what you're expecting for the market tomorrow, taking the sign that you get from these candlesticks. This is what stock investing is. If you guys have never done this before, chart reading is an inexact science. It is very hard to do. And it's why I sometimes don't like to take positional trades, just because you have to get it exactly right. And as I'm speaking this, we have this moving lower again still. So this is telling me right now, as it stands, we have 4 minutes to go till close. This is not a trade that I would look to take. This is one that I would stay away from based on what I'm seeing right here. And I don't think it's the point where you would go ahead and be bearish on it or have a negative outlook just because of what the stock price did today. you're not going to go and say this is like setting up for a negative move lower. It is kind of pushing up higher in a very strong candle here where it actually kind of gapped up a little bit. So this isn't a negative signal. It's not a positive signal confirmed yet because we don't have the data backing it up that this trend wants to continue at the end of the day. So right now, with this going on, I'm going to wait a couple more minutes here, but from what I'm seeing right now, right here, this is my setup. I would not make this trade. I would not go into it tomorrow thinking this is going to be a higher open. I thinking that this might be a lower open, and just you make your assumptions based on that. If you want to make the trade based on that, you can. But it's about looking for your setups, looking for your ways to trade, and preparing yourself at the end of the day for an overnight movement. Just understand that, again, if you're going to do an overnight trade and you're going to take care of some options here, if you're buying them, the theta is going to work against you as time goes on. If you're selling them calls or puts, the theta actually works in your advantage. You get to kind of bank that trickling theta that's decaying. It goes into your bank account and you get a little bit of cash every time theta decays. If you're buying them, the theta is working against you. You're losing that potential profit as time erodes. Understand the difference. Understand how calls and puts work. And if you don't understand options right away, just stick to buying and selling stocks outright. You can do that. It's very simple, less things to worry about in terms of what's included in options versus just outright buying and selling of shares. With 3 minutes to go, looking like we might have a little push up here higher. Need this to get above or at least meet that 120.54 area. And then maybe things will flip around, but we're just going to wait it out and see what's going to happen and see what the stock market's going to do. Again, not an exact science. And I flip back to AMD or other kind of one here. Let's see what's going on here. A big time decline. So this is one I would definitely not look at making a bullish trade on because of the downward pressure on AMD to finish out the day. And again, we have the doji candle for AMD. This looks to me like it wants to move lower, but we just had a nice bullish uptrend. So I don't know. It's an indecision candle. That's what dojis mean. That's when there's no big long body. It's just in the middle right there. If you want to do it, a trade, you can. But again, it's about your setup and what you think is going to happen. Make sure you build in some profit taking and stop losses just to be safe. But to me, this looks like a downward movement, lots of extra volume. That's what you want to see in the upward direction for it to be a guaranteed slam dunk bullish kind of setup. We're kind of getting there now in Nike. Need a little bit more movement up higher, a little bit more action here from the volume standpoint before we finish out the day. It looks like it wants to go higher. Going to want to break above, again, that 120.50 area. Right on it, right at it. Can't quite get there. We got less than a minute to go. 45 seconds to go to be exact. So again, this is where the money's coming in. Is it going to go bullish? It's extra volume. We're almost at to the volume that matches the open today, but we're not quite moving any higher. So again, it's getting beat back down. Some sellers are coming in, selling off to finish the day. This one to me is a non-starter. We're going to go boom and not make a trade as it comes back down further, and away we go. So that's how you can make a informed decision with the end of the day data. Set yourself up for success for the following day, but make sure you trade your setups, wait for them to be established, and go from there. Thanks for checking out this video. I will catch you guys on the next one.